It was funny when we got to America and Loren was like, Anika, multung 줄까? Do you want some water? And Anika looks at Daddy, it's water. And no, I don't want any water.
She was 2 years old.
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she's like,
to me right now.
I want water.
Oh,
And
wow.
I just blew my mind.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another interview here with the Halfie Project. So I am with a couple special guests. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sunya. I was born in Botswana, but Korean. I've been living in Korea for about 9 years now, going into our 9th year. And these are our collaborations, Anika and Neptune. Can you say hi?
Hi.
And I'm Loren, and I'm from the States, a Wyoming guy from the Rockies.
So, Sonia and Loren. And we have Neptune here and Anika, right? So you guys can talk if you want to.
Yes, Anika.
But my first question, so like you mentioned, you were born in Botswana and then you were raised in South Africa,
Yes.
right? But ethnically Korean.
Right.
Is your mom first gen Korean? Was she born in Korea and then moved to Africa?
Both my mom and dad were born in Korea and then moved to Africa and had my brothers and I.
Did they speak to you mainly in Korean?
Both, actually. English, Korean. We kind of grew up speaking Konglish, whichever was more comfortable at the time. We never actually specifically had Korean lessons per se. So, which we regret later coming and living in Korea. But now it's like, oh, when we were younger, we should have, taken more Korean lessons. So, but yeah, it was very mixed.
Okay, and what was the language that you mostly spoke when you were living in Africa?
English. Yeah, mostly. I mean, my brothers and I still communicate only in English. It's very weird to speak Korean amongst each other. But my mom and dad, we flow English, Korean in and out. And my grandparents only in Korean. So it differentiates.
Okay, so it's kind of a natural flow
Right.
of the languages.
Right.
Yeah, so how did you guys meet? Where did you meet?
Facebook.
Facebook?
Right.
Oh, this is like an online
I
dating
know,
story.
it is like 12 years ago. And
Yeah.
so I asked my brothers to come on our first date. Hey, Anika.
뽀뽀
Oh,
해
Anika.
빨리.
Give me a kiss.
누구?
고마워.
우리 방?
Okay, so the kids were a little restless, so
Right.
they're hanging out elsewhere.
Yeah.
But you guys were talking about how you guys met. Do you mind just saying it one more time?
Sure, on Facebook 12 years ago through a mutual friend. And I brought my brothers on our first date.
You did?
I totally did. I was like, 12 years ago, I grew up in South Africa. My parents brought me up so protected and to be aware about everything. So it was like, okay, so I met this guy on the internet. He could be telling me anything, who knows? So I'm going to bring my brothers, big rugby players, and they were with us on our first date, and it was really cool. And
We planned, I was living in Daejeon at the time actually, so we did a year of distance.
yes.
Wait a second, so where were you at the time?
In Seoul.
You were in Seoul.
And Loren was in Daejeon, so he came to see me on the weekend, and that was our first date.
Yeah, we met in Hongdae at the KFC.
You're classy. You're a very classy guy.
I ran out of class.
And since then, we've been together ever since. So, and that was 12 years.
Yeah, we've been
Crazy.
inseparable.
Yeah.
12 years, wow. So, okay, let's back it up even before that. Where would you say you are from? Like, if we just go back to the basic roots. Like, when people ask you, so where are you from? Like, what do you usually say?
Africa. Yeah.
Do people usually follow up with another question?
Of course, they are like, what do you mean Africa? Then they can hear it in my accent, and then it goes back even further with my grandfather being a doctor for the UN, and so he settled in Africa. And my dad was doing a lot of business here and there in Africa, and met my mom in Seoul. took her over and then had us there. So that was why we settled, or why we were born in Africa to begin with, is because of my grandfather. So for me, I feel very much African. My parents brought us up quite freely. There was not like, oh, you're Korean, or you're, you know, this new type of Korean that was born in Africa. It wasn't really anything like that. It was just very free upbringing. So that's why I was saying I kind of regret like my parents not being a little bit stricter and saying, hey, you know, you need to go to Sunday school and learn Korean. So yeah,
Your Korean's still good.
it's okay. I mean,
Yeah, because you guys run a business here in Seoul, so being able to speak Korean is a necessity.
yes, it is a necessity. So
What about for you? You grew up mostly in the States?
I grew up 100% in Wyoming, like the most isolated state.
more animals than people. Right.
It's the most isolated state in the lower 48.
Wow.
Would you know that despite her being on another continent, and we both had the same motorcycle
When we were younger,
at the time?
like
So
the same motorcycles, the same, I mean, we're a year apart, so, but still my dad would get us like 2-wheelers, 4-wheelers. We had like a golf cart growing up. We have had so many things you can drive and ride at home in Africa. I mean, there was so much land and stuff, so it's so different for having kids here in Seoul and bringing them up here, as opposed to my childhood or Lauren's childhood, where there was just so much land to roam and play. And
there's photos of her on goats. They're riding around in the bush.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing. I mean, it was Africa, Sahara, dusty roads. I think I hardly had clothes until I moved to Johannesburg, because every child photograph of me is just in my underwear. And I'm like, Mom, where are all my clothes? She's like, it was so hot, I dressed you every morning, but by the time I'd see you, you're just in your underwear or in a swimming costume, so that was funny.
Wow, you guys are really quite unique, especially to see in Seoul, of all places.
Right.
So having that kind of upbringing, living here in Seoul, how different is it? How do you feel being here in Seoul?
Claustrophobic.
I feel good, to be honest.
Lauren loves it
I love
here. I do love it here, in a sense of opportunity, in a sense of the energy, in the sense of so much happening and things going on and the excitement. But there's so much of me that's like, oh, it's so different for my kids. Yeah, of being or becoming a mom, and their space, I think, is what gets to me the most.
So you chose to raise your kids in Korea, right? Is that what you guys are deciding to do?
No, we're choosing to be here now.
Yeah, just for now.
What comes next year?
Exactly,
Who
we
knows?
have no idea. We really have been, for most of my life, have just been like going with the flow, finding or following the vibrations, and has led me to where I am today. So not anything, I don't feel or like the feeling that, oh, I'm tied down to one place, or I'm trapped, or I'm feeling I can't move at any time I want to. And I think that's just the Sagittarius in me, though. But Lauren feels the same as well, so we're just pretty much open to anything.
And we represent 3 different cultures, essentially.
Right.
I mean, especially at this point. I mean, I feel at some point, even I represent Korea. I mean, we've been here off and on since 2006, 2007 for you.
Right.
So, there's this necessity for our kids to have language. We have them in Korean school, the Oranijib, and they're learning Korean on a daily basis. They come home, full-on conversation Korean. I'm like, okay, I need to start listening to your class.
Yeah.
They do speak Korean quite well. They also
Very
speak
well.
some English
No,
too.
they speak English very well.
Perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Because they always speak to me in Korean.
Right, because they assume. So if they think you were white American, they would speak English to you. If they think that you're Korean, they'll speak Korean to you. So it was funny when we got to America, and Lauren was like, "Anika, multung 줄까? Do you want some water?" And Anika looks at Daddy, it's water. And no, I don't want any water.
She was 2 years old.
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she's like,
to me right now.
I want water.
Oh,
And
wow.
I just blew my mind.
Do you think she said that because she perceives you as white? Like, oh, not as dad, but as white?
we always speak Korean together.
Right. Yeah.
Even on the plane ride there, it was
yeah.
back and forth, English, Korean,
Korean.
mix it up, no problem.
Right.
We touch foot, we're in Seattle, we're hanging out with my brother, and I'm like, 물 드릴까? You know, 물 드릴까요, Anika?
Yeah.
물통 줄까?
Yeah.
And she goes, I want water, Daddy.
Yeah.
And I just, that perception, you know, that
And
level
after
of
that
energy
moment,
perception.
she didn't speak a word of Korean until we
Until we came back.
until we landed in Korea, actually.
That's very interesting and very quick.
Yes, very quick.
I can't speak for all Halfie kids, but sometimes like maybe myself also, this jumping between two cultures and the way I talk to my dad versus the way I talk to my mom. Now that I'm older, I feel like I recognize that like as a third person awareness of myself. But I think at a younger age, like you're sensitive to that without knowing why. And she could already be doing that.
Yes, I think she does. I think she is already aware of that, and but at the end of the day, we really are teaching more to look beyond than white, Korean, black, Indian. You know, really, really just trying to eliminate that.
You look at the energy of an individual
energy of
and
the
how do you
person and
feel?
how, yeah.
How do you feel in front of that person? That's it. It's a person, it's a human. So when we look at our kids and they're half, I mean, for me, that's two wholes, actually.
So now you've got Anika and Neptune. And what do you guys think when you just see them? What do you see your children as?
Sometimes I see myself, sometimes I
Right.
see my wife. It's the third part, which is they are themselves.
Yeah, they are so themselves. So a lot of people are like, oh wow, Neptune looks a lot like you, or oh, Neptune or Anika look a lot like Daddy. And I'm like, well, they actually just, Neptune looks like Neptune and Anika looks like Anika. And so many people are like, oh, okay. Oh, I guess so, right? And then they get it, but it takes them a while, you know, and sure, we made them so they'll have traces of us.
But they're their own individual people.
Their own individual people, and from the minute they were born and in my belly, we acknowledge that through the way we communicate with them, through the way we experience things with them, I guess. Right?
I mean, even the psychological connection, which is to say, you don't just have a baby. Like, you're actually creating that inside of you. So when you put your thoughts into the creation aspect, I mean, Sunya was developing them with her mind. That's something that we can't overlook as a mechanism for developing a child.
You guys definitely have a big impact on your children, whether you realize it or not.
Right, right.
Because there's a lot of Halfie kids, their parents, who ask like, oh, okay, I don't know how to raise my kids. I just recently met someone who was telling me about her daughter who just is so aggressive and angry for being half, for looking different. And how, as parents, what do you think you could say to those parents, you know, being the parents of Halfie kids? Like, is there anything, word of encouragement or even criticism, or like, hey, this is how you should do something or you shouldn't do anything? The door is open. Is there anything you'd like to say maybe to these families?
Do they accept the fact that they have a mixed kid?
Right.
That's my
Yeah,
first question.
that is the first thing.
Are they able to, or are they getting criticized from the
Right,
side?
right.
We deflect so much criticism because we just don't care.
We really don't.
We're not listening
Like,
to that.
whatever somebody may say something, at the end of the day, that is my child and nobody else's. You know, you're not responsible for them at the end of the day, like we are. And so, sure, you can say whatever you want to say. I'll hear it, and we'll just do our own thing anyway. In the end of the day, so for me, I think, you know, stand strong, be proud of your beautiful children that you've created, and it doesn't matter all what else is happening around them, because I'm always like, Anika, mommy and daddy don't care, you know. We are strong within ourselves and know who we are. If something I know that I don't like, people are going to know that I don't like it, and that's it. And it doesn't matter who that person is. It really doesn't. Anika, you can say that to mommy too, or daddy. If there's something, you need to tell us.
Well, it's about the strength of energy.
Yes,
If
so...
we're being inundated from people around us who
Right.
are impacting our thoughts about,
Right.
and we're now concerned about it, our kids are going to feel
They'll
that
pick it up straight away.
So
They
our
are
energy
so
has to be stronger
Yeah.
than that.
I really love to hear this, and I'm definitely thinking about someone in particular who is having a tough time raising their child. So I just, yeah, I really hope that they're watching this video.
I hope so. I hope so. It's not easy. It really isn't easy. But I really think if I mean, a very good friend as well just told us, get down to their level. I mean, we've already matured. Our brain's gone through all of these things. But if you bring yourself down to your 3-year-old, to your 2-year-old, to your 1-year-old, and really go through the emotions that they maybe it's like the best way that they can express themselves. So
learning how to communicate.
Learning how to communicate is always so important, and we always make sure that Anika and Neptune know that they can communicate and talk to us about anything.
Yeah,
So,
you guys are that love and that support and that open
Yes.
communication, and I think they're gonna grow.
yeah.
Well, if we give the spark, the spark keeps giving, it's passed around. So that's kind of where we live, but it's different than most people. So like we say, we kind of block it all out.
Yeah.
You can only do so much, and especially when they're very impressionable. Kids are sensitive, they take everything to heart. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully we can see a time in our lives which is, clearly not going to see what we expect or what we'd like to see in the future of humanity. But hopefully in our lives, we see people start to embrace more.
Yeah.
Technology has brought us closer and closer
Right.
together. I think the fact that we can have this dialogue even
Yeah.
is the power of moving, humanity.
Right.
The individual is all, everything and nothing, All of us are important. So how do you take this is what you are and next, and is not the way. It's just not the way.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to know that Neptune and Anika get to be part of this developing new humanity, or just as the world is going, and they're going to be part of that. So yeah, we're just going to wrap up here, but I really thank you so much for your time and your honesty. It really means a lot to me. And yeah, thanks for being part of the Halfie project.
Of course.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. We are the Halfie Project. Thanks so much for watching. This was an interview with Sunya and Loren here at Paper Street. If you guys are interested in more stories about Halfies or half Korean families, you can look at the Halfie Project, that's the Instagram handle, or also YouTube channel, The Halfie Project. Please subscribe. We'll have lots of more stories coming your way. Thanks for watching.